Listen, I don't really know how to hold this feeling I'm having, so I'm gonna pass it over to that guy over there and say it's what he's feeling and call it my intuition, or that I really know how to read people. While I stay over here in my familiar comfy chair inside of my glass house taking sips of hot cocoa from my unresolved shit mug. The Spiritual Shitshow Podcast with Suzanne Soul, episode 35. Hey, you fabulous fucking superheroes, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow Podcast, where we get into the hot, damp mess the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Soul, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the wonderful delights I've learned along my journey that have helped me, and that I hope help you too. Let's talk about projection. That's right, folks. We're talking about projection. Not the projection like in 11th grade when they played those horrible videos about car crashes in science class so we wouldn't carelessly joyride once we got our driver's licenses. And FYI, in reality, all those videos did was give us PTSD. Anyways, I'm not talking about that kind of projection. I'm talking about psychological projection. Psychological projection is a defense mechanism where we attribute our unacceptable or unwanted thoughts, feelings, or impulses to others, so we can avoid confronting these uncomfortable aspects of ourselves. AKA, when we get triggered by something or someone and unconsciously take the feelings and disowned parts of ourselves that come up and splatter them onto someone else, like we're Jackson Pollock with an unresolved trauma brush. But I thought that was too long of a title. It's when our psyche says, "Danger, danger, Will Robinson. I'm having a yucky feeling and it's too much to deal with inside." And Will responds, "We have to get rid of it. Let's pretend the feeling came from someone or something outside of us and chuck it." Or sometimes our psyche says it in a more subtle, clever, and tricksy way, like, "Listen, I don't really know how to hold this feeling I'm having, so I'm gonna pass it over to that guy over there and say it's what he's feeling and call it my intuition, or that I really know how to read people." While I stay over here in my familiar comfy chair inside of my glass house taking sips of hot cocoa from my unresolved shit mug. It's what we do when we don't fully know what to do with the uncomfortable shit we feel inside that pops up in certain situations and reminds us that it's in there. And in response, we act like a 1930s actress who becomes a shut-in and says, "I'm sorry, but I'm not receiving today." But seriously, folks, I jest. And the reality is, we all project. Every single one of us. You, me, your therapist, your cat, your yoga teacher who insists she's totally beyond ego while she's secretly judging you for not trying hard enough and charging you $3,000 for a kombucha retreat in Costa Rica. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, no one is exempt from projecting. We all do it. And before you think, well, I don't do that, buckle up, babe, because in this episode, we're dragging all our projections into the light and lovingly calling ourselves out, because that's what healing looks like. And disclaimer, we're not shaming or blaming. We're just looking to say, yeah, I've totally done that. And now I understand what it is and why I'm doing it. So that's cool. Okay? Because projection is not a moral failure. It's not a character flaw. It's literally your subconscious going, "I'm not sure what to do with this right now, so I'm just going to put it over there." Swiss psychologist, author, and professional shadow whisperer Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Ugh, you're killing me, Carl. And spiritual teacher Byron Katie, the queen of owning your shit, says, "Placing the blame or judgment on someone else leaves you powerless to change your experience." I mean, that sounds as awesome as it sucks. And a common belief in spirituality is that the people who trigger us most are our greatest teachers. And as much as it's way more entertaining to call your bestie and skewer the person who triggered you, we know that that is fucking true. So how does projection show up in our lives, you ask? Well, let me tell you. One way it shows up, I'll just call the all-knowing me, aka I know what's really going on. Have you ever decided that you knew what someone else was thinking or why they did or said something? You just knew based on your own perspective. And your belief about why they did or said whatever they did or said caused you to feel hurt, angry, sad, or anxious, or just made you generally feel poopy? Well then, congratulations, you've projected. You know what they meant, what they were thinking, their secret, petty, deeply personal motive to fuck you over. AKA, they didn't invite me to the party equals they're rejecting me. They looked annoyed equals they hate me because I'm too much. They want space equals they're abandoning me because they don't like me. You tell yourself you're just reading the room, but you're actually reading your nervous system's perception of the room via its archive of past experiences and pain. And the conclusions are often something like, she's mad at me. He's judging me. They think I'm too much. I mean, obviously that's a theme with me. But here's the thing, babe. Most of the time we assume someone's thoughts, motives, or feelings, it's usually based on our own emotional history. Yeah, I know. I'll give you a minute with that one because it's a lot. Say you're out to dinner with your partner. Everything's going fine. You've ordered dinner. Maybe you've even held hands under the table like you're in a French film. And then your partner casually says, while chatting about a mutual friend or coworker, you know, I really admire how confident she is when she speaks. She's just so grounded. And in that exact moment, time stops. The blood leaves your face and your brain starts compiling receipts, crime scene photos, and every insecurity you've ever had since 1983. Because sure, he just said she's grounded, but your nervous system heard, you're not grounded. She's what I wish you were. I respect her more than I respect you. I'm probably going to leave you because I prefer her. And now you're quiet, but not peaceful quiet. Oh no, you're the tension-filled, slow-chewing, fork-hovering, say something, I dare you kind of quiet. Your partner, totally oblivious, takes another bite of his lasagna like he didn't just detonate a landmine in your subconscious. And you sit there staring at your meatballs, now spiraling with thoughts like, why did he just say that? Is he secretly into her? Why did he use the word admire? Why didn't he just say, she's nice? And here's the plot twist. He was just complimenting someone. He wasn't trying to make a point. He wasn't a subtle dig. He was having a thought and saying it out loud. What happened for you is your own fears, your sense of not enoughness, your own inner voice that's maybe still healing from past relationships or childhood wounds of rejection, from never feeling seen, perfectionism, or whatever stories of deliciously dysfunctional moments in history that fill the shelves of the library of you are. And that voice swooped in and went, he's not just talking about her. He's revealing how he feels about you. That's projection. And it's not that you're wrong to feel what you feel. It's that you're assuming the feeling came from him, when actually it came from inside of you. The call is coming from inside the house. And we all do this sometimes. Because we're human. You read the situation wrong, but it felt totally like reality, and there's a reason for that, because it was real once. Maybe not with this person, but somewhere in our history, that same phrase, that same tone, that same shift in energy did mean pain. You're not wrong. You're having a real feeling, but the feeling is just not because of what's happening in the current moment. You're feeling something that's already inside of you, something that's lived there for years, maybe decades. That moment you weren't picked, that time you were ignored, dismissed, abandoned, shamed, rejected. That time when love came with strings, attention came with conditions, or you had to become invisible just to stay safe. Your nervous system remembers, your body remembers, your inner kid, your teen, your inner 20-something hot mess. They're all still in there with a walkie-talkie saying, alert, we've seen this before. Shit's about to go down. I know that's a terrible walkie-talkie, but it's the best I got. And so your whole being lights up like a trauma Christmas tree. Even if what's happening now is mild, even if the person in front of you means no harm, even if you're literally safe. Because trauma, especially emotional trauma, isn't about what's logical. It's about what's familiar. So yes, your reaction feels true because somewhere at some point it was. Someone did hurt you. Someone did mean something unkind. Someone did withhold love or approval or safety. You're not broken for reacting. You're remembering. So our brain says, listen, I've seen this movie before and I know how it ends. And now we're reacting to the ghost of Christmas past, or fourth grade past, or prom date past, not to the person in the current situation. Because uncertainty is terrifying when we've been through inconsistent love, or shame, or betrayal, or conditional acceptance. And so our brain fills in the blanks with worst case scenarios we're already familiar with. So we can plan and prepare, so we can feel some sort of control. And so we aren't caught off guard. Another way we project is when we accuse someone of being a certain way or having a certain trait that we can't admit we have ourselves. This one is lovingly called, you spot it, you got it. AKA, judging in others what we don't want to admit is a trait we also have and have disowned. Like unclaimed land. Ever look at someone and think, ugh, they are so fucking judgmental. Or, she is just exhausting with her need to be right all the time. Am I right? Or, he is such a control freak. I mean, I am definitely not controlling, right? I'm chill as fuck. I mean, I meditate. We deny or reject a trait in ourselves, and that trait taunts us via other people. You don't want to admit you're judgmental? Equals you're bothered because they seem judgmental. You repress your anger equals angry people enrage you. You feel weak equals you call other people fragile, dramatic, too sensitive. These are our disowned parts, which Carl Jung referred to as our shadow self. The parts we keep in the shadow and out of the light, even and especially from ourselves. And why do we do this? Because we were taught early on that having certain traits is bad and will get us hurt, criticized, shamed, abused, abandoned, and even unloved. So we shoved those traits way down. Way down. But guys, they don't disappear. They just keep showing up in other people and pissing us the fuck off. But like I said, we all do it. Or as Mel Brooks said in History of the World Part 1 when he was playing King Louis XVI, I just did it and I'm ready to do it again. Don't tell me you don't do it. If you're human and you've been alive longer than 20 minutes, you've projected and been projected on. And let me say, you're not a fuck up for projecting. You're not broken, you're not toxic, and you're not an irredeemable emotional tornado. You're just human. And like every other gloriously messy human, you've probably projected your shit onto other people a few thousand times without even knowing it. And that's the thing about projection. It's sneaky as hell. Most of the time we have no idea we're doing it. We may think we're being insightful, observant, spiritually discerning. I just feel the energy, you know? I'm an empath. And it's not that we aren't intuitive or that we don't pick up energy, because we totes do. But it could be helpful to recognize that our intuition isn't guaranteed to be absolute reality or the end-all be-all. And maybe we can also check in with ourselves. And if we are having a strong emotional response to the meaning that we're making about something, we can check in to see what's happening for us inside as well. We may be reading the room and we may be totes triggered at the same time. Or we could be totally jacked and making shit all the way up. Anything goes. All I'm saying is, I think it's a good idea to leave room for the possibility of the unknown, to the mystery of life, and focus on what we can affect, and that is ourselves and our inner life. And when we are projecting, we aren't passing off our unprocessed emotions, hidden insecurities, or deepest fears because we're being mean or manipulative, but because no one taught us what to do with the inner hot mess that comes with being human. Now you might be like, so where did we learn to project like that? From society, from family, from religions that told us our anger is bad, from schools that shamed us into silence, from parents who couldn't regulate their own nervous systems and then got upset when we cried or expressed anger. From all the places that taught us to fear our feelings instead of feel them. We may have been taught how to behave, how to succeed, how to hustle, how to get approval, but we may not have been taught how to feel what we feel without making it someone else's fault. It's all your fault. I'm pissed off, you motherfucker. So we end up walking through life like human projectors, casting old wounds and buried fears onto the people around us, our partners, friends, coworkers, cashiers, people we haven't talked to in 12 years but still stalk on the socials. We're unconsciously reacting to them for what we haven't fully faced in us. Believing we know someone else's intentions, thoughts, or motivations, especially when they've hurt us, pissed us off, or triggered an old fear. Because in that moment, you're not responding to what they actually said or did. You're responding to what you think it meant, how it made you feel, and what you've experienced before in similar situations. Spiritual teacher Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say, when you squeeze an orange, you'll always get orange juice to come out because that's what's inside. You could squeeze the orange as hard as you can and you still will not get apple juice. The same logic applies to you. When someone squeezes you, puts pressure on you, or says something unflattering or critical, the feelings and beliefs that come out of you are what you are holding inside of yourself. But most of the time when we experience a situation that squeezes our own beliefs or feeling juices out, we may see it as being about the other person. Now, this is not to excuse abuse or mistreatment. That is for another discussion. And if someone is mistreating you or being abusive to you, like I always say, take care and safely remove yourself from the situation and safely remove yourself from their access. But in most other scenarios, we can see that what comes out when we are squeezed is an old wound or story we have been carrying around maybe since childhood. But in most other scenarios, we can see that what comes out when we are squeezed is an old wound or story that we've been carrying around maybe since childhood. But here's the thing. When we were kids, at our most vulnerable, and we didn't have the tools to respond any other way than through whatever coping strategies we came up with, including projection, we couldn't set a boundary, we couldn't self-soothe, we couldn't step back and analyze with maturity, but we can now. That's where the healing is. It's not in never getting triggered, because that ain't gonna happen. It's in knowing that when you are, it doesn't have to mean the same thing it used to. We can stop and say, okay, this feels familiar, but I'm not there anymore. This is now. I'm a grown person with choices and autonomy, and I can respond from this wise and experienced version of me, not the scared little girl. And I can be a nurturing presence to that scared little girl or boy inside of me. And babe, that's integration, the road to wholeness. And plot twist, while we think we're protecting ourselves by projecting, we're actually giving our power away. I know, for crying out loud. Because every time we say, they made me feel this, we forget we are the ones with the feelings. Every time we get stuck in they're the problem, we miss the invitation to grow into the person we actually want to be. We're outsourcing our discomfort. We're assigning blame to someone else for a feeling that actually lives in us. And we're doing it in the name of truth when it's really just unhealed baggage dressed up as moral clarity. Hello, nice to meet you. Yes, unhealed baggage. That's right. I'm on the groom's side. And the worst part, it keeps us stuck in suffering, in shitty patterns, in rifts with people we love. You know, have you ever been accused of having intentions for something you did or said that you knew were not true? It kind of sucks, right? And maybe the accusation even caused you to question yourself or doubt yourself and possibly believe things about yourself that may not be true. And every time we blame others for our discomfort, we reinforce the idea that our healing depends on someone else changing first. And spoiler, they're not gonna. So we're really putting ourselves in a shit situation when we look at stuff like that because it's disempowering, babe. And we want to recognize also that when we're projecting, it isn't just about peace and personal power. It's about our relationships too. Projection is one of the fastest ways to nuke connection. It's hard to love someone clearly if we're seeing them through the foggy lens of our own unresolved stuff. And it keeps us stuck in loops because if the problem is always out there, guess what? We never have to change. And who wants to stay stagnant all their lives and not learn anything? Not me, Jack. Spiritually, projection is one way we stay in the illusion of separateness. It's how the ego keeps its job. If I'm projecting, then the problem is out there, which means I don't have to heal, grow, or take responsibility. I can just stay mad and self-righteous and call it discernment. Ram Dass said, everything in your life is there as a vehicle for your transformation. Use it. That annoying person, that triggering moment, that partner who makes you feel crazy, they're not obstacles. They're fucking mirrors. And when we project, we mistake the mirror for the enemy and miss the invitation to heal and grow. We forget that spiritually speaking, there is no other. And what can make it difficult to see in ourselves is when the parts we don't want to claim are quiet because they're hunting wabbits. When we're not actively feeling ashamed, scared, pissed, or spiraling, we kind of act like those parts don't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm very calm all the time. I never get mad. I never get mad. And it works. And then it's easy to flip the projection switch to, it's them, when they activate that part of us. And suddenly we're reacting like they made us feel something, when really they just pressed play on a track that's been in our playlist the whole time. And they don't even know they're DJing our nervous system right now as we speak. So when we project, we're not just offloading discomfort, we're ignoring the opportunity to rediscover disowned parts of ourselves that are waiting for us to be present with them. The shadow self, the tender stuff, the version of you who's still raw around rejection, invisibility, not being chosen, or being too much. That's my theme song. Too much. Too much, too much, too much, too much to fall in love. These parts don't just go away because you're not feeling them in the moment. They're just waiting. And when they show up through someone else's face, it's not an attack, it's an invitation. Not a fun one, not one you'd RSVP to, but still an invitation back to you. And here's the gold. When we catch ourselves doing it and say, oh, this isn't about what he said or what she did. This is what I believe about me. We don't have to spiral anymore. We can breathe and we can say, wow, that brought something up for me. I think I felt insecure for a second. We can talk about it. We can get closer to our people by sharing our crazy with our loved ones, with the intent of being vulnerable, not just crazy. And the moment can be a mirror we can use for growth and healing. Maybe it's not about them at all. Maybe it's about the fact that we don't actually believe we're confident or grounded or sexy or successful or insert whatever adjective you wish you felt. And that compliment that they gave the other person just hit a bruise we've been pretending wasn't there. It's not a sign to go to war with our partner. It's a nudge to make peace with ourselves. Because when we react to something like that, what we're really saying without words is, ouch, I don't see myself that way and I wish I did. And boom, now we have an opportunity not to shame ourselves, not to beat ourselves up for being insecure, because, we all feel that. But to say, hey, maybe it's time I start seeing myself differently. Maybe it's time I speak about myself to myself in a way that I would like it if other people did. We have a choice to set our intention on creating an environment where we feel like we have control over everything outside of us, or to focus inward and pay attention to our inner life and allow our journey of life to be about our healing, learning, evolution, and opening our minds and hearts to love and freedom. Which sounds pretty good to me. All right, you amazing amazeballs. This has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. My name is Suzanne Soul, and the only thing I'm going to project onto you is my undying love. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. Roll it, and then roll it again.